myself. Yeah. I'm feeling myself.
There we go.
Oops. Never mind. We're going to close the whole thing and maybe edit this part out. But
Good.
So, happy Christmas, everybody. We today, first of all, I'm going to let you know that next week we're taking the week off, so there will not be a new episode dropping on the 30th. And today is, what is today? The 23rd. We know everybody's involved in Christmas stuff, and we didn't want to let that opportunity just disappear. So, we have hats.
We bought hats.
We have ho-ho hats.
Yeah.
And they matched.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See? We were going to put little stickers on it too and have our little sticker up there, but we kind of like the all-white look.
Yeah.
So today we thought we'd share a couple of holiday traditions. We've all got them. Things not everybody has a fun time on the holidays, and I want to acknowledge it's true.
Oh, yeah.
For a lot of people, it's
some traditions suck,
and for a lot of people, just going home again is very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to acknowledge that, and we're not here really today to talk about that because that's like too heavy, deep, and real. And today, I just don't want to go there.
No.
Okay, there's other shit going on in the world that we could go there too, but let's not.
No.
So right now, we're just going to talk about happy, fun stuff. So I'll start with this. And then we have a recipe we want to share with you, a holiday kind of thing. Well, first of all, I grew up, I have 5 younger brothers and sisters, and my father was an Episcopal priest. So there wasn't a lot of disposable income. And Christmas was a time where that was often made apparent, especially by standards of comparison of today, and a lot of plastic toys and a lot of plastic packaging. You need to be a surgeon to open up some of these toys for some of these kids. We didn't have all that, and so we didn't have a whole lot of presents, We made things for each other, and we would save and scrape, and of course everything was different back in the 60s and 70s, but 50s even, for fuck's sake. So one of our traditions was we got to open up one present each on Christmas Eve. And on Christmas morning, we each had to watch everybody, and we went, not necessarily in order, I know this is like your idea of hell, but we each had to watch each other open up the presents and take delight in that. And so it felt like you got more presents when you had 5 brothers and sisters, because you had to wait a long time to get another one. Yeah. Everybody else got one first too. Yeah. So that's a rotation of one every 8.
And I think every family does that. But yours, because it's so big, was a bit of a pain in the ass.
It was an interesting thing when I was married at 22. I went to the Christmas there, and it was so incredibly different.
Where?
At my future in-laws' house. And so my mother-in-law, and I kid you not, okay? So, and this is not to disparage, but just to point out the difference of traditions.
Yeah.
There were blue packages, a little stack of blue packages. Those were for my husband, her son. And then, I'm making this up in terms of colors. Red packages right next to it, a little stack. All stacked right there, neat, with numbers on them. They were each numbered. No tags on any of them. Those were all my presents, the red ones. And then there was a little bigger stack, red and blue wrapping paper.
That was for both of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was our mutual presents.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 sisters. They both had husbands. And same thing, yellow and green. Pink and purple. What the fuck?
So they were wealthy.
It wasn't about wealthy. It was about privileged.
Yeah.
It wasn't stupid money.
Right.
It was privileged. Private school.
Yeah.
Privileged. I guess now it would be called the 1%, except I think the 1%ers have shot up into We're really talking about the people that control the earth is like the 0.0001% of the world. I don't know, because I suspect that my brothers are in that 1% too, but that's not their value system, of that kind of. But anyway, how do we get on that? The point is that I was appalled. Everybody would start opening up the present. Nobody watched anybody. Nobody took any, and they would glance over
Rip it
at
over.
the
And,
mother.
oh, look at what you got. Yeah.
And we'd all get the 3 girls all got the exact same handbag. Whatever one got, the other 2 got.
Yeah.
And so after a while, it was like, well, this doesn't feel like it was for me.
Right.
It's kind of not so special.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really grateful now, from my perspective, that we and my son got this too from me when he's, I mean, the kids go crazy. Christmas is Christmas, but he reminds people, slow down. No, you take a breath. It's not your turn.
Yeah.
To the 6-year-old who, this is the first year she's 6, so at least there's a little bit more control. But when she was 4,
it was hard. Yeah.
It was hard. What about me? I want another one. I remember playing with whatever I had received, or examining it if it was a book.
Oh, totally.
Or the pens, or whatever.
Totally.
And between presents, because I was waiting for number 9. Every 9th time it was my turn.
Well, we didn't have a big family, so
how long that was.
It wasn't.
To wait.
We sort of, I think, had the same system, but once you got past 2, it was like, just grab and open, and that's what we sort of did. But it's funny because, like, the same, like, we weren't rich. My mom was a single parent, and there was no Atari systems or Nintendo, or we didn't have that luxury.
The plastic.
But I don't ever remember being disappointed.
Oh, that interesting.
I don't ever remember being disappointed on Christmas. And like, always there was, something that, you knew that I knew my mother really thought about. She didn't just buy things for the sake of buying. Like, I remember one year every weekend I would go to the movies, and I would get $5, and she'd say, what do you spend that on? And I'd say the movies and then the arcade. So that year she bought me a little wee Pac-Man arcade. Man, hours upon hours I was up in my fucking bedroom under the sheets, going through this fucking mini Pac-Man. But it was like, it's a serious great memory of mine. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then, the first year I started cooking was the first year I didn't spend Christmas at home. So she insisted that I open the present before I go to work. And it's this beautiful book that I still have upstairs, of all about culinary and, how to do cuts and, just information, not, cooking, not recipes, like just traditional recipes sort of thing. So yeah, I don't ever remember being disappointed.
What did you used to, what?
Except when it came to my aunt.
Which one? Mother's sister?
No, I didn't
Father's
know her
sister?
when I was that age. My father's sister, because she would buy whatever... and she bought for my grandfather, my father's father. So she'd buy whatever she thought my cousin would like, and then I got the exact same thing. And I remember noticing that at like 12, going, that I don't really like that.
I'm
it felt
remembering
impersonal.
Now, from my age now, to have clear memories of certain feelings and situations and retorts from older people, and the impact that it must have made for me to be able to recall it.
Yeah.
This much later in life. And and some of those, a lot of them revolve around Christmas memories. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Sure.
It's all of them. But my household was a little different, I think, than the norm. I know was different than the norm because my father had to leave in the middle of Christmas morning to go conduct a service, Christmas morning service. Now, the big service was the night before midnight mass, right? Yeah. And that was the one where you dressed up and showed off. And everybody saw everybody, and they all came downtown for that. And then you'd go home and drink eggnog and get shit-faced, stay up for the rest of the night, putting your Christmas presents together for your fucking kids, right? Okay, so that was.
And then go into the sermon drunk.
No, not him. But the people that would come to midnight mass, and then they don't show up. They don't post. They check that one off the list the night before, right? But the old fogies who were like sensible and went to bed, and they were like, we don't fucking care about dressing up. or drinking. They came at 10 o'clock the next morning, or 11, or whatever it was. And so Christmas Eve morning, he would have a service. When he came home, we would finish presents. We always left, what was it? We got to open up one or two. And then, and our stockings. Our stockings was the big thing. And we'd have breakfast. He'd go do church. When he came back,
You do presents.
we'd do presents. And that could take a couple hours.
Sure.
My mother would sit there with her pen and her pad and say, who's this from? Because parishioners would give us presents.
Thank yous.
Yeah, and we'd have to write thank you notes and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And she'd keep a list of all that stuff. And I'm glad for those memories now. I am.
Well, yeah, like honestly, I
Not many families do it that way anymore, you know?
I get really kind of sentimental around this time because I really do remember my mom. And even though she kept herself really fucking busy because like my dad, we talked about this last year, my dad and your marriage ended on December 15th. So my dad walked out the door that day. And so that was it was a devastating Christmas for us. And we were all took us many, many, many years to recover. But one of the traditions we did have before my parents separated was we would go to this restaurant called Obie's, and it was right at Royal York and Bloor.
Yeah.
Okay. And we would go there for pancakes.
I know what it is.
And pancakes and bacon, and it was like this kid-friendly place. Like we could win prizes and stuff. Like it was pretty crazy. But I remember that's something we did when I was really little. And then after Dad left, for first couple of years, there wasn't really that tradition wasn't. But Mom picked it up later. And then, of course, we all disperse and, have lives. Kelly gets married. Chris goes off to college and, life happens. So that tradition, Mom and I in 1998 brought that tradition back, but we added a Muppet Christmas Carol. So it became pancakes and bacon.
Best album in the world for Christmas. Sorry, Mariah.
I know,
but,
it's true. It's true. Yeah.
John Denver and the Muppets.
Oh my God, I love
And
that
I remember
album.
the first time somebody, an adult, recommended it to me, and I was like, trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me and listen to the whole thing. Scooter?
Yeah. I love the Muppets, I'm not gonna lie. And so the Muppet Christmas Carol was a tradition which was great. But I think as far as traditions, we weren't overly religious. Like you guys were, had a very spiritual base of what that was. Christmas changed, and I mean it's fascinating to do the research on it and see when did Coca-Cola introduce Santa Claus, and when did that whole theory start, and it was like mid 1800s, but it was all a ploy.
Saint Nick.
It was
Saint
all
Nicholas.
a ploy because they didn't sell enough Coca-Cola in the winter. They only sold it in the summer, so they wanted to know how could they market it.
Oh, that's too much. I didn't know that.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they wanted to know how to market it in the winter.
Well, I
and
don't
they
drink
created...
Coca-Cola anymore, so I got to tell you.
But
as soon as
I
saw
still
what it
enjoy
did
the
to your
commercials.
teeth,
Right?
that's what I did to my
Holidays
teeth.
are coming. Holidays are coming.
I can't
That's the
remember
Coca-Cola. It's playing right now.
Uh-huh.
And the Coca-Cola trucks going through, what looks like to be a fucking North Pole. And it's like, well, you market well. I don't want your product, but, it's cute to watch. It's cute to watch the polar bears drink your Coca-Cola. That would actually probably kill them, but okay.
Well, one other tradition that also involves my mom, and I guess she was better at that, or she was the mother, right? So, she made our bread back in the day. She made bread, very health conscious, and so for Christmas, we would get Christmas trees, and they would be, bread rolled out like cinnamon roll construction.
Yeah.
So you'd roll it up and slice it into little, like this would be the top of the tree would be 1 inch wide, and then the next would be 2, and then 3, and then she'd put them together and bake them like that. And so we would end up each with a Christmas tree, and it was ours. We each got our own tree, and don't fucking mess with my tree. Hey, who took my top? That kind of thing. And then she made Easter. What did we get at Easter? Bunnies. So it was the same kind of notion that they got ears instead of the top of a tree. You just had a
Right.
brown thing with a little bit of a tail and it had a head and ear. And bunny, or no, they were sitting up, right? Yeah. So, and again, we would guard that. So that is, I haven't made that bread in a long time. My sister continues that tradition and sends that bread. She makes it. You gotta let it rise and punch it down and knead it and let it rise again and then work it and shape it and put all this stuff and then let it rise again and then bake it and then wrap it and then ship it.
And you'll eat it even if it comes 20 days later.
It'll arrive, depending upon when the mail gets there, when she finally sends it. And she leaves instructions for, put it in the oven for this long or whatever, in the microwave for this long. And, we'll still eat it. But let's just say that it loses something in the translation. In the transportation, it loses a little of its tenderness.
Sure.
But we still eat it.
Well.
So you had a recipe you were going to share as a favorite recipe if you feel like it.
Well, I have mastered the gluten-free pancakes because I still do pancakes and bacon on Christmas Eve.
And that's why because I didn't realize that was a thing with you. And when I asked you, did you have a recipe you wanted to share? And you said, yeah, I'm going to do my pancakes. And I'm like, huh? For a holiday? What? And
But
now
we
I
had
understand. Now I
we had
understand.
pancakes and bacon last year.
I get it. Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Well, now I know why.
Yeah. Yeah, because
It's Christmas.
tradition.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what's your recipe?
So my recipe, and it's gluten-free and dairy-free, which I love. You can use whatever. Sometimes I use bananas, sometimes I use blueberries, but mostly it's usually blueberries, especially if it's going to be for Christmas. And it's 1 cup of gluten-free flour, as long as it has like it's a gluten-free all-purpose, it's fine. You can buy the really expensive ones, but that's why I sort of tweaked this recipe, because I was sick of buying the pancake mix.
Got it.
That was gluten-free because it was way too expensive. So I was like, I'm going to just make it myself. So 1 cup of gluten-free flour. I use the Robin Hood. And 1 cup of oat milk, teaspoon of baking powder, 1 tablespoon of vanilla, 1 egg, and 2 tablespoons of honey. Now, a lot of people put sugar in.
Okay.
And I put the honey because I don't like the refined sugar in the baking. So the honey just gives it a little, just
sweetens it, lightens it. Well, that's okay. And then just cook them up.
And then what I do is I then stir it all up, usually keep it on the counter for a good 20 minutes, and then I'll add a little bit of water to
Why do you keep it on the counter for a good 20 minutes? What's that
just
about?
Because the egg probably came out of the fridge, the milk came out of the fridge.
And
I want it to be more
temperature.
room temperature because it's
just
a better.
learned that.
Yeah.
I never knew that that's part of it. And
it is.
Because when you said you were going to share a pancake recipe, I was a little bit also like, well, fuck me. I'm sharing my crepe recipe. Right? So anyway, you guys are stuck with the fact that
one's gluten-free, but one's not.
Pancake kinds of things. Yeah. So I'm not so gluten-free.
No, not
But
at all.
here's the reality, because I went looking for a recipe because I never follow one. And I've been making them for years specifically for my nephews. This was not something that maybe I did. I don't remember. I was probably too busy to make even note of the fact that I was doing something that was supposed to be fun and joyful with my own children. But with my nephews, I did notice. And on Sunday mornings, when I would babysit them, and this was 18 years ago, 18, call it, I think, late aughts. I began in 2008, I guess, 2009, babysitting them when their parents, my brother, busy executive, and his wife would have reasons to be out of town, and I was available and, responsible enough, and they trusted me with their kids. So I would come down, it would be for a week, 10 days or whatever, and it began this thing of cooking them crepes on Sunday morning, because it was something I could do, and their mother is like a friggin' gourmet cook, and I cannot compete with her. So a lot of the food was just like, okay, we'll eat it because we have to. But crepes I could do, and so it was like, thanks, Cindy, this is great. Okay, and that felt good, right? So So here's what I would basically do. Take a whack of flour. Doesn't matter.
Really, that's how you're going to do the recipe? That is just shameful. That's fucking shameful.
Let's say a cup. Let's say a cup. Take a cup. I don't know where whack came from, but here, this one says, I'm looking to see if there's, this says 1 cup. So 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Why are you laughing at me? This is how I cook. Stop laughing at me. 2 large eggs. But anyway, the whole point is that when I looked at this recipe, I was like, yeah, I do that. And then it was like, now make sure you take the eggs out well ahead of time.
So they're not room temperature.
And I'm like, what the fuck's that about? Never knew that before today. That's how I never knew.
Did you see the eggs on the counter last week?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because I was making the muffins.
And that's why you leave shit all over the place.
Well, it's not accurate, but
anyway. So I take a cup of flour. They say you got to add all this shit. I don't add any of it. Okay. Here's what I do. I go by the consistency. You do not want this like pancake batter. You want this thinner.
Lighter.
You want it thinner. They say to use milk. I've never used fucking milk in my life. I always use water. And I lived in France for a while. They use fucking water as far as I know. Maybe they use some milk too, but I never saw it. So, and then I add, and this is why I thought of it, because I was going to leave it out, sugar. Sorry, folks. Pour a little sugar in there. Now, she uses honey. That's okay, but I've never used honey in mine. I'm not going to fucking mess with this now because I got it down to a science. And then when I've got the right consistency, and a lot of times I'm sitting there and I'm whisking it together, okay? A little bit, touch of vanilla if you've got it, but you don't need to. A little bit of that. Whisking it all up. And then, you know, after a minute or two, when it thickens, you're like, no, it needs to be thinner. Run it under the tap first.
Yeah, it's true. You're doing exactly what I've always done.
So, and then you make it to the consistency where when you pour, it's spreading out on a hot pan.
It's like a coat.
It doesn't pour and puff up like a pancake. It pours and spreads out, and you help it by picking up the pan and tilting it a wee bit around like that so that some of that little batter falls off, and you end up with this really, really, really thin, which cannot be utilized usually with a spatula the same way you do with a pancake. So what you want to do is you just, with a rubber spatula, very carefully, at 1 minute per side, lift up an edge and then just kind of grab it on the edge with your fingers and kind of and flip it over, straighten it out because it bubbles. Now, I personally keep a stick of butter right handy next to me on the left-hand side, if you must know. So with the paper turned down so that it is now being used each and every time that I make a crepe. Because I do one in the pan, that's at a time. And I wait, that butter sizzles over a gas stove. And then you take a ladle full, spreads out, tilt that pan. Watch by the time you got it popping, it's all bubbling like that. Flip it, watch it bubble a little bit more, take it out, put it on a plate, and in between each, put a little piece of wax paper or parchment paper. You now have authentic French crepes. They will stay for up to 3 to 4 days in your refrigerator. And I just keep going until I use up the batter. And I like to roll them. So when I serve them, I roll them up like a pirouette. Is that what it's called? Pirouette cookies with filling inside, you know. But anyway, long and thin, like your ham roll. And serve it that way with some strawberries and a little bit of Nutella. They like Nutella. No whipped cream, I know, but they were big Nutella people, and it was always about, you know, get some protein in them. So that's mine. Have fun. Haven't made it in years. Did I just sound excited? Because that made me hungry.
Made me a little bit hungry, too.
And bacon. Must have bacon.
Yeah, must have bacon.
Everything's better with bacon. Everything's better with butter. Everything's better with bacon.
It's true.
That's right.
It's true. Blueberry pancakes and bacon, there's just nothing.
Well, they're bacon, blueberries, and butter. There you go. Apparently, with all the B's, you're good. Wow. All right. Do you have a story, or was that it?
I do. I have a
You have a
good
story?
news story. This is a rather funny one. So back in July, the Niagara Falls SPCA had a parrot named Pepper surrendered to their shelter. They don't.
Oh, somebody surrendered
Yeah,
it.
surrendered.
I pictured him.
No,
Freeze!
no, surrendered the parrot. And the parrot's name is Pepper. Well, it turns out that Pepper has the mouth of a sailor. I mean, Pepper just goes off. Okay. And
Okay.
so they started doing Facebook posts to try to get people interested in maybe, and said at first that, Pepper swears a little bit. It's not even. Then they started making videos and people were commenting like, give that fucking boy a bar of soap, like it was pretty bad. Like Pepper's bad.
I wonder
So
who owned Pepper first.
I don't know, but they did an adoption, like a reach out adoption, and 400 people applied to adopt this foul-mouthed bird. Well, of course you have
The
to
foul-mouthed fowl.
Pepper. And of course you have to have birds and all the equipment.
Oh
So,
my God.
they vetted them all, came down to 10 really good contestants anyway.
Of people that
of
were
people.
actual possibilities.
So now Pepper has just recently found his forever home, and he lives about 150 kilometers away from the shelter, so not too far from Niagara Falls. They didn't state a name, but he lives with an African gray parrot named Shelby, who makes Pepper look like a saint. So they're happy together with their foul-mouthed birds.
So
and I just thought that was
together.
great. Because, a lot of people like to judge people for swearing. And the reality is,
we are being judged.
oh, fuck yeah. Just right now I got judged by, millions of people if they saw
Ho,
that.
ho,
Ho, ho, ho. Motherfucking Christians. Oh.
Oh, God. I don't know where that came from. Here we are. It's the birthday of the man who started. And we all give him credit for the religion, and it's not true.
No.
It was really, I know we talk about Peter, but it's really St. Paul, and we call him Saint. He's the one who kicked off this whole Christianity thing. But anyway,
him and Constantine.
Anyway, well, no, I mean, it was in existence prior. He just made it official, that's all. He just made it official. Anyway, we aren't going down that dark road right now because ho, ho, ho!
Yeah.
It's time for you to go celebrate. I hope you get some fun things for Christmas, but more importantly, and
don't be down on yourself if you have a foul mouth. Seriously.
That too,
Because,
and I hope you give more than you get. I will tell you this, and this is not about because if it was, I would do it every year and I would tell you, but it isn't, and I didn't, and I wish I had.
That's so vague. Get to the point.
One year, due to a whole bunch of interesting interfamily dynamics and exes, and it was a while ago, it turned out it wasn't a good idea for me to be present for Christmas morning. And my grandson was very young, and it was just easier all the way around. And so I just decided I'd get on board with this, even if it was for the sake of an asshole who divorced me 30 years ago. God bless his heart. And I chose to bake cookies, buy socks, knowing this was coming up. They didn't spring it on me the day of.
Yeah.
And wrap them all up and then drive around the inner city of Baltimore in bad places on Christmas morning, which happened to be a really sunny, cold, but sunny and clear day. So keeping the window down was, easy. And I gave out these little packages to homeless people on Christmas Day. And I can still tell you that it was, probably the happiest Christmas morning I can remember.
Yeah, it does.
So I think there's something to giving, and giving things you made or things you put your time into.
Yeah,
is so much more meaningful. And we talk about frequency here. The frequency with which the gift is made and given is felt and received. It's that simple. So
Yeah.
So, ho, ho, ho.
Happy Christmas. Happy
Have a
holidays.
Happy Holly Christmas. See, I'm so old that I'm singing you a Burl Live song from the 1950s. I believe
Which is, brings up
or was that Pete Seeger from the
cute
1960s?
point that on December 6th in 1964, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer played on NBC for the first time.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And then it remained for 10 years and then went over to CBS.
Yeah.
And this last year, on December 6th, CBS turned it over
2024?
turned it back over to NBC so
again?
they could, on the 60th anniversary, run it 60 years later on the same
good.
day.
Did you watch it?
I recorded it, so it's
okay,
going to
good.
be it's a couple of probably little extra parts and stuff. So I just thought that would be cute.
Okay. Well, everyone, we hope you have a wonderful holiday season.
Yes.
However long it is, wherever it is, with whomever it is.
We hope that you're
And
with people you like.
We so appreciate the fact that you have, however many of you actually tune in, that you take the time to listen to us on a weekly basis is just so rewarding for us. So thank you. And we wish you just a joyous season and a happy, happy new year. We'll be back in the new year with our new year intentions.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Take care.
Or Merry Christmas, everybody.
Well, that too.
And both.
Both.
Okay.